Welcome back to How to Make It Happen, our podcast series where we get behind the scenes of some of London's highest growth SME businesses. I'm Lawrence Hutchings, Chief Executive of Workspace. Workspace have over 4,000 SME customers in 60 locations in London. This podcast is about sharing the stories of our SME customers. In our first episode, we featured Wild. Today, we turn our focus to a different type of business. I'm joined by Eliza Batten, the founder of recycle fashion platform, the Cirkel. Eliza's turned the fast-paced world of TikTok into her shop floor and, importantly, shop window, and in doing so, revolutionized the way recycled fashion is sold in the UK. Welcome, Eliza.
Thank you for having me.
For listeners who haven't come across the Cirkel, can you tell us what it's all about?
The Cirkel is an online resale platform for women's wear that you can shop from or sell through. On the selling side, we make it totally hassle-free by doing all the work for you in a fully managed selling service. And then on the shopping side, I'd say our main aim is to convert more people to shopping secondhand by really elevating the online consumer experience. So when I compare our platform, I'm not looking at the likes of peer-to-peer marketplaces like a Vinted or a Depop. I'm looking at what does Net-a-Porter look like? What does Selfridges look like? In order to not trick people into shopping secondhand, but make it feel really easy, really trustworthy, and elevated. And
you've done an amazing job in opening up this market, haven't you? And I was reading the circular fashion market's growing at, I think, CAGR's like 4.3% in the UK per annum, which is super impressive. About £230 million market, they think, and as we say, growing rapidly. Awesome. If we go back, what was the genesis behind the idea? Where did you get the idea for Cirkel or for getting into the recycled fashion business?
I mean, it's a funny one. I've always been a secondhand shopper since I can remember. And actually, if I'm being totally transparent, it wasn't to do with sustainability at the beginning. When I was a teenager, I've always been a bit of a magpie, loved brands, couldn't access them, didn't have the income for them. So for me, it was scavenging charity shops, eBay, trying to find pieces that I wanted to wear. And then I started flipping items on Depop. So sort of at uni, my side hustle was selling clothes. I did about 2,500 items. So quite a lot. So I've always been somewhat in the resale space. And then I had a bit of a following on Instagram and I started a series called Secondhand Saturdays. And every Saturday I'd go to a secondhand shop or boutique or a charity shop and promote it, I guess to try and educate people that the experience can be really nice. I think there's quite a lot of taboo about secondhand shopping. And so I was trying to, change people's perceptions. And through that, I realized that what was really lacking was good online presences. It's all well and good, me showing on my Instagram a lovely boutique in Chelsea, but if people that are following me from Newcastle can't access it, what's the point? And so I saw a bit of a gap in the market there. My now co-founder had a platform that was doing what we're doing, but with children's wear. So he had built something called a platform called Kidclo. The problem with it was he had built all the automation, all the back end, all the operations. His average item value was £6. So your economies of scale is crazy. The biggest infiltrator of kids' clothing is supermarkets, and that's what you're competing with. So he was thinking, okay, I've got the platform, but not the margin. What's the next step? And it was women's wear, and that's sort of how we crossed paths on LinkedIn. And we come from two very different backgrounds and different skill sets, but that's how the Cirkel formed.
Fantastic. So that partnership was instrumental in you being able to grow and scale your business.
Definitely.
And we often hear from our customers that one of the biggest challenges in partnerships, they don't always work, is the duplication of skills. So in this case, it sounds like
polar opposite.
The complete opposite, which is the ingredient to make it work fundamentally. And getting back to that point about numbers, it's increasingly not just numbers. The online retailers that we know, many of them are customers, data is one of the incredible things about using an online platform, isn't it? How rich your data sources are. Is that something you're very focused on when you're looking at your business? Are there trends and patterns that you can see that allow you to start to position product?
Yeah, to an extent. Do you know what? One of, I guess, the biggest enigmas I find with the Cirkel is marketing it, despite that being my remit. because you're not marketing a single product. Our product is constantly changing. We have 15,000 items available to shop right now. Every single one is different. Every single one is a unique SKU. I can spend hours marketing one product, but when that product sells, it's it. That's it. It's on to the next one. So it's kind of constantly having to market the platform in its entirety. But it is something that I still find challenging. I don't think I've cracked it yet. But I think we're definitely getting there. We have a lot of organic growth on socials, which is converting, which is fantastic. But yeah, it's how you invest your time. The data is all well and good to an extent, but because our stock is changing every single day, it's quite difficult as well. I would say where we use data is sort of customer repeat rates. And funnily enough, our most searched brands are Cézanne and Chanel. And I don't know if that means anything to you, but Cézanne is like high-end high street.
Yes.
And then obviously Chanel, you would mean something.
Yes.
But
Prestige. Yes.
So like totally the two ends of the spectrum of sort of our highest price point and our lowest price point, which is quite funny.
Does that mean you've got a clear view of who customer is? Is that two different customers, same customer? Is there...
You know, again, I remember at the beginning, and for a little bit of context, this is my first ever job. So I graduated my master's and started the Cirkel 2 months later. So I don't have any sort of set experience in working rather. I'm learning on the job, learning as I go. Ignorance is bliss, I think. But I remember speaking to a sort of marketing mentor who said you need to be really specific with who your customer is. But again, coming back to the fact that our stock is constantly changing, our customer is constantly changing. And even I find I can go on our site or go into the store one week and love everything and the next week not. But I think that's actually part of the beauty of shopping secondhand. And that's what I find addicting about it is you can come back to us every week and it feels very different. We don't have a season that we're plugging and pushing for months. It's just constantly evolving. But yeah, it is quite tricky then to find the exact customer.
You've excelled in your use of social media, haven't you? I think it's exceptional. And the amount of energy clearly that you pour into it is enormous, but it's your shopfront to the world. In fact, I know you've got a physical presence. We were talking about that earlier. We'll come back to that later. Talk to us about how you developed that social media presence. You know, what led you to Depop? What led you to some of these other platforms? Was it sort of a network or was it your own experience?
Depop, it was so long ago now, but it was probably at the very beginning of university. And I think I just it was probably actually by accident, a couple of things that I bought in a charity shop that I then had second thoughts on and put on Depop. And then realised I was selling them for the price I bought them for. And then realised I could actually put a little bit more of a markup on it. And then I would just start doing loads of research about sort of what brands were selling, scouring eBay, scouring charity shops. So that sort of just happened organically. In terms of social media, I mean, I would say going on Made in Chelsea, a reality TV show, gives you a little head start. I think I probably left Made in Chelsea on 20,000 followers, maybe a bit less. And then the rest is just consistency. I think consistency really compounds when it comes to social media, and it helps that I enjoy it as well.
Eliza, I've been dying to ask you tell me about Made in Chelsea.
What do you want to know?
Has it been helpful from a business perspective, from the Cirkel's perspective?
Yes, without a doubt. I would say it put my name on a relatively small map. Condensed to southwest London, but no, it definitely gives you it gets your name out there. It's amazing actually how many people do watch it. I'm always surprised that even now, I've been off the show 7 or 8 years, and the most asked question on my TikTok lives is people obviously scrolling through the TikTok lives going, I recognise her. And the most asked question is, were you on Made in Chelsea? Which is crazy that people still recognise me from that, or, you know, in the pub or whatever. But no, it definitely helped. I'd say it helped getting the name on the map, which gives you a head start. I can't imagine starting from zero. It's helped significantly with that. Confidence in front of the camera. I would say there's perhaps a stereotype that people from reality TV build their own businesses. So sometimes it doesn't help that you have to further prove yourself and prove your legitimacy, I guess. That it's not just another reality TV business. I don't know. Maybe that's insecurity, and actually other people don't see it like that. I don't know. But on the whole, it was also really fun. Really fun. I think if I was to do it again now, knowing what I know, I would be much more strategic. I was quite insecure, so I really wanted to be liked. So I played it very safe. And so you get out what you put in. And I probably didn't put in as much because I was just very much not wanting to sell my soul too much. I was very aware that my grandparents were watching it, so I never wanted to swear or air too much of my dirty laundry or cause too much kerfuffle. So yeah, I guess now with more confidence, I'd be like, screw it, let's start some fights. And then you'd get more followers, and then more followers means more airtime and money and whatever. You know, you can really, it's a chicken and egg. There's an incentive as to why people stir up situations. And you know what was so funny is when I first went on Made in Chelsea, and I was really young. I think I was 19, 20. It was my second year of uni. I remember everyone there was taking loads of pictures, and I was going, cringe, you know, why are they doing that? And I remember one of the other classmates turned to me and said, just you wait, you'll be on this bandwagon sooner than you know it. And lo and behold, here I am. But I think it became, I mean, first you realised you could monetize it. But I didn't have a lot of people, I think, go on these shows with a plan and intention. And I was just taking any opportunity that came my way. I really didn't have a plan. And I think actually in hindsight, I wish I had been a little bit more, I don't know, thought longer term, maybe. I could have been maybe more strategic. But I've just always been someone that any opportunity comes along, yeah, let's go for it.
So your planning process around business, is it year by year? Is it quarter by quarter?
I would say actually one of my Achilles heels is getting bogged down in the day-to-day. I have to sometimes be really conscious about resurfacing and looking bigger picture, because I can get strapped into, oh God, Sally's upset with the stain on her blouse, and there I am trying to make Sally's day better, when really I sort of need to offload that. I'm still quite, I guess, controlling. I want to be able to oversee everything, and there's got to come a time where you just say, no, I'm not looking at customer service this week. It's not my problem. I've got an amazing team that do it wonderfully. But yeah, it's tricky.
And that's very much the conundrum of a founder, isn't it? Most of the founders we speak to, that ability to let go is really, really hard, because that's how you've got this business to where it is.
Yeah.
There's this incredible control and oversight over an enormous span of activities. And suddenly as you grow, that's a massive inhibitor to growth, isn't it?
Totally.
You become an inhibitor to growth. Is that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And actually, I've learned that me doing customer service doesn't work because I'm too emotionally involved. I just want to make their day, whatever you want. The biggest voucher, I'm so sorry. Whereas I need someone a little bit more, not quite detached, because I like to think everyone that works for us really cares. But yeah, can be a little bit less emotional with the communication.
A bit more dispassionate.
Yeah.
I'm keen to explore again, just in a little deeper, the idea. I've got friends in the fashion business, and you know the stories of how they got into it, I think, are fascinating. You know, one of them was the seventh of 8 boys, effectively, and when he was at school, his suits were yellow because he was the 7th of 8th. And he used to tell me these stories about how his mum would look at his suit and say to the youngest boy, Matthew, oh, Matthew, there's no way you can wear that suit. I'll have to buy you a new one. So his nickname at school was Rags, effectively. So, of course, that was his driver. He just wanted clothes. He had this obsession with clothes. Was there an obsession from your standpoint about fashion or about handbags? Or?
Oh, definitely. I think my mum is really into fashion, and she's actually always been a secondhand shopper. And before it was the cool thing, I've got a jacket that she bought in the early 90s from a secondhand shop in Battersea, and it's been handed down to me, so it's essentially third hand. But so she's always been shopping secondhand, and I guess we've always liked brands, but she's instilled in me to be a bit of a bargain hunter. But the bag thing, we don't know where that came from. Mum's not a bag lady. And I remember when I was 13, we went to New York, and I made her take me to Soho so I could get a fake Celine bag in one of the back streets. And I don't know where that came from. I don't know if it was being exposed to watching the Kardashians or whatever it was. But it was, as long as I can remember, I have been a bag lover, to my family's dismay. Though I've made a business out of it, so, whatever.
And I think this idea of, being able to turn a passion of yours into your business is, because there's a lot of people in the world who don't have that luxury, isn't there? It's just such a, and I just wonder, exploring that theme, if you love something, you're going to pour a lot of time into it.
Definitely.
And it doesn't feel like a chore. It's your passion, it's your hobby.
Definitely.
And I've met numerous people in different walks of life who are in that position. And I often look at it and think, it's just such a huge advantage. It must be when you're trying to get a business off the ground, and all of the energy that takes, because it saps every last second of energy and time out of you. Is that the way you feel about Cirkel? It's just been so much easier because it's something you love?
Yes. I'd say it's sort of, there's two things. You've got to love it, but I guess you've got to be confident with the fact that people on the outside will love it too, because I can imagine it being excruciating doing something you love, but there being no demand for it. And then you're sort of just constantly in an abyss. So I guess I'm lucky that I'm building a business that, as you say, there's a high demand for secondhand. It's a booming market. And I suppose there's no barrier to entry with my business. Anyone can start doing it from their bedroom. It's the barriers to scale, which we're constantly focused on. But also I would say to anyone that has a passion, we were always told at uni never to use that word, so I use it sparingly, passion, but is to do it in whatever way you can. So when I was doing secondhand Saturdays, I wasn't making any money from that. That was me spending a day of my free time because it's something I enjoyed. I didn't know where it would take me, but it was something I really enjoyed. I felt a sort of purpose doing it. It felt really important to me. And it's just so happened that opened the door for conversations with my now co-founder.
And when it comes to employing staff, are you looking for similar people who are passionate about fashion or about labels or about, is there a sort of culture that you're looking for when you employ someone?
I think we get a lot of inbound, which is lovely. And I think that's one of the good things about social media is people can, nowadays brands really excel with the behind the curtain, the authenticity, interviews in the office, seeing the chaos. And so we therefore get a lot of inbound because it looks like, and it is in reality, a fun place to work. I would say we probably get in people approaching us wanting to work that like fashion. I don't think you'd apply to a startup, messy, chaotic business if you didn't really enjoy it. But I'd say no. With my team, it's about good vibes, hardworking, and resistance, because 1 week's amazing, 1 week's crap. It's the reality. It's a journey.
And when you have those bad moments, how do you pick yourself up? You've had a bad week, you get home, it's Friday night, it's not been great. What's the sort of tonic that sort of settles the nerves and calms you down? Is it the 2 days off? Is it a glass of something? Or is it just simply saying, no, I've been here before and I'm going to dust myself off because I know next week's going to be better?
Do you know what I've actually learned about myself is I'm great in a crisis, and I've learned it through starting the Cirkel. We have had a sort of, I suppose, the beginning of last year, we came this close to calling it all off. We had to make a large amount of our team redundant. My co-founder basically said, look, I can't see it working. It was, and he's maybe a bit more emotional in a way. And I was just cool as a cucumber. No, it'll be fine. We've got this. Don't worry about it. We'll make it work, which I did not know about myself. It took sort of facing the end of the road for me to learn that about myself. So I don't really, people talk about starting a business that it's all consuming, which it is. It's very blurred lines. I don't know where the Cirkel ends and I begin in a way, but I'm also very good at work-life balance relatively for a founder. I still have lots of fun with my friends. They keep me very grounded, and it's nice. I'm quite good at compartmentalizing, I think.
Fantastic. So you're one of these people that can, I don't know, go away for a week and switch off completely or mostly?
No. Okay. But I know I can't. But I think because I don't know any different, because I've never had a regular job.
Good point.
I don't know what it's like to not think about work when you're on holiday. And sometimes I think the grass looks greener. I look at my friends and most of them have gone corporate-ish. So I look at them sometimes with their nice salaries and their health insurance and the fact that they can leave work. When they leave work, they leave work. But then, I don't know, when it comes to when we start talking about our day-to-day, it's different. And I guess it's just what you value, what's more important to you. And right now, I'm in a position where I don't have kids or that sort of big responsibility. It's just me. So I've got my appetite for risk is higher.
Done a few sports over the years, and I always look in my job at the people who are working in their passion with great envy. And if I'm a cyclist or a surfer or whatever, the dream is to work in a surfboard factory, or the dream is to work for a bicycle company. But when I speak to people who are in that, they say, be very careful, because the best way to kill your passion is to work in it effectively. And most of those people I met don't do any cycling or hardly do any surfing. They're so involved in the business. But it feels like you've got that fantastic blend of something you love effectively, but you still love it effectively, even though you've made a business out of it.
I think because I'm I'm a big customer of it. Yes. I sell all my clothes on the Cirkel. I'd say 80% of my wardrobe's now made up of pieces from the Cirkel. I've sort of built a business that I wanted to exist.
And just going back, because I know this will be relevant to our audience, our customers and other SMEs, because on that journey, there's lots of dark times. There's great times as well, but there's dark moments. And you just mentioned one then. Where was that the darkest time?
Probably. I'd say when at the beginning we raised a bit of money, we grew quickly. We were focused on growth. And I think maybe if we were 5 years before, it would have been a different story. The landscape's really shifted in the UK for startups. So it's just harder. It's harder to raise money. It's harder to grow, yada, yada. And I think people now look for profitability in a way that they didn't focus on so much. And so we grew really quickly, hired people my age. They became my friends. And then when you hit a wall and you have to let your friends go, that's really hard. And I would say also I'm not a manager that is particularly scary. I work best by befriending people. I want to have good chemistry and vibes, but that does bite you in the bum when then you have to have to let them go. So that probably has been the hardest, but there's challenges and down periods weekly. There's always little things coming up. The highs are very high and the lows are very low, but that's the cliche of startups.
That reset in the cost of equity and debt was so rapid that I think it caught a lot of businesses off guard, because money seemed abundant effectively and it was cheap. Suddenly it wasn't abundant and it wasn't cheap. And there was it was almost overnight shift from businesses that were being valued on a multiple of future earnings and some of them were valued on a multiple of future turnover, to suddenly, I would need you to be profitable today, effectively. Yeah. And was that the crunch that you were facing, the same?
Yeah, I think at that point, we just realised the importance of, I guess, also proving the model. Yeah. And so that was a real turning point for us. And since then, we've been cash flow positive pretty much every month, most months, which is fantastic. And in our industry, that is quite hard to prove. So it's incredible that we've got there within 3 years. So yeah, I guess the importance has totally shifted there, and it's put us actually in a much stronger position now, because raising now is for growth, not survival, and that's a really lovely position to be in. It's much more relaxing than it was a couple of years ago.
And a lot of founders talk to us about that point where they feel as though they've been pushing this snowball up a hill and suddenly they get to the crest and they're on the other side and it's got its own momentum. Was that the point when you turned cash flow positive where you started to feel like Cirkel had its own momentum? It didn't need the same amount of energy just to keep it moving? I
don't think so. I think because we're constantly shifting our own goalposts, I still feel like we're pushing it up to an extent, but even a snowball rolling up is compounding.
And that ambition, do you see, how does it manifest itself in the business? Because it can be incredibly engaging, but if you're not the right personality, I could imagine it could become incredibly draining at the same time, couldn't it? Just this constant sort of feeling you're on a treadmill and it's never enough.
No, and I think, every week's different, and sometimes I love the chase.
Yes.
And sometimes not so much.
It becomes a bit of a chore. Yeah, no, I get it. It's interesting. Because we do see a little bit of a separation in that area between the founders and the people who've got equity and the work. It's harder to get people who are not as engaged from an ownership standpoint in that constant, resetting the bar. I imagine you're constantly resetting the bar. Yes, like every month the bar moves up, and if you hit it, then you move it up again. Is that fair?
Totally. And I'd say actually we've been really lucky up until this point that we've had such wonderful team. I've had such wonderful colleagues, and it feels like, who knows what they're saying behind closed doors, but it feels like they care about it as much as me, which is so wonderful. And also they've all, been there. We're still so new, so they're so much part of the journey. And I think for them and for me, you're very much sort of in control of your own destiny to an extent. When you're one of 5 or 6 team members in a whole company, you're responsible for so much of the output. But that's really exciting. And I think also we're all, other than my co-founder, we're all in our 20s. So we're learning so much every day, which I think is extremely rewarding.
Going back to explore the social media piece in a little more detail, it's been a phenomenal platform, hasn't it, for lots of businesses, and you've managed to master it. Because we don't need to go back that far, and it just didn't exist effectively as a commerce platform. Let's put it that way, as a communication platform, but not a commerce platform. And eBay, I think their response to all of this was free clothing listings. I think that was. I remember recently, when that came in exactly.
And then,
yeah. So it's but it was really the domain of physical retailers and perhaps eBay, and suddenly these social media platforms became commerce platforms, didn't they? And used to sell product, and you've mastered that. With just exploring that in a little more detail, how did you go about unlocking all of that? Was it, you've mentioned before that there was a bit of trial and error with Depop, but the shifts into TikTok and Instagram in these areas, how did that come about?
I think one thing actually about being a slightly later player, because there are businesses out there, there's been Thrift Plus.
Yes.
Actually, I don't want to necessarily name all competitors, but there's been other businesses out there that have done it. And actually, one thing that's been a bit scary with the Cirkel is we've had almost direct competitors fall by the wayside since launching nearly 4 years ago. I've had probably 3 or 4 competitors go into administration, which, on the one hand, great, take up more of the market. On the other hand, crikey, this is clearly a tough nut to crack. But I think what I did see, you learn a lot from their failures, I guess. And one of the things was, by restricting yourself to only 1 or 2 methods of sales, sort of avenues, if you have a soft month on one of them, you're a bit screwed. So for us, it was really important to spread our eggs. So we sell on so many different avenue streams that if one of them happens to have a soft month or 2, we can normally prop it up with our other streams. And also, when you're selling on third-party platforms, there's an element that's out of your control. So it's really important, I think, to diversify and have as many as possible. So yeah, TikTok was actually something I put off for a very long time, and I sort of kicked myself for it. But I guess we just weren't in the space. We didn't really have the resource at the time, but they've been asking us to be doing lives there for a good year or 2. And we started in March, and now we dedicate 2 hours every single day to doing it. And it's great. There's no denying it's really great, but I should have probably done it a bit earlier.
We also went through a period, didn't we, where some of the luxury online resellers effectively were trying to establish their own recycled fashion platforms. Was that a major competitive moment for you, or did you look at that and think it'll never be a big business for them?
It's a really tricky one, I think, when big retailers are trying to do it internally, because I don't think they're ever going to dedicate the correct amount of sort of resource, time and energy, because it's not going to be their profit maker. And, it's such competitive time at the moment that all focus really needs to be on driving sales, driving revenue. And so it won't necessarily be their priorities in the way that it should be in order to make it successful. We know, bearing in mind it's our entire business, how difficult it is. So if people want to do it themselves, they're going to have to invest a hell of a lot of resource and time. And also you risk cannibalizing your own sales when it's so close to home.
Yes.
So I guess what I would say to those guys is there's an opportunity to outsource it. We can do white label.
Okay, fantastic. We talked about the dark times, and we all know there's dark times. We all appreciate that there's tough times in every journey, every business journey. The great times, do you remember the highlights? Was there a particular achievement where you said, wow, I'm going to stop, I'm going to smell the roses for a moment because for 10 years or 5 years or 3 years I've worked for this and this is a really important moment?
There's been a couple. I think maybe 2 years in, we were invited to Downing Street and I was there with other female founders who are all part of brands and businesses I loved, and pretty much all of them had brands that we sell on the Cirkel, so that was really cool. And then more recently, we've been announced as Sifted's, one of Sifted's fastest, it's a tongue twister, isn't it? Sifted's fastest growing startup in Europe, 121st, and that's really cool. And I don't know if I've actually let that sit properly. I did the sort of due diligence of the LinkedIn post and all that malarkey, but I haven't. It's only really when other people go, bloody hell, and I think, oh god, yeah, actually that is quite cool. And also on the list, everyone above us is predominantly fintech and AI, and I think they've all raised on average £90 million. I think if we had raised £90 million, we'd be number one.
Fantastic. And we were talking before the podcast about equity raising, because we know for many of our customers, and you just touched on it a moment ago, which has reminded me, for many of our customers, if we're holding a customer forum or some form of event and we've got a Q&A session afterwards, expert panel, the experts that are there that have got a background in equity raising, they get the most questions. It's one of the most asked questions we've got in any of our seminars. How do I raise money? What are you looking for in a pitch book? They'll ask the investment people on the panel. We talked about it earlier, but just talk us through that process of raising funds from the first equity raising, which I understand was angels in this case, to where you are now. What's that journey look like, and what are the lessons on the way through that you would share with others?
The first lesson is, I would say, persistence, because you get a million no's for every yes. Angels, I feel, is an easier way to go on the whole. And actually, we're very lucky with the angels that we have. And none of them, apart from one or two, did we actually know. We've found them on angel networks, on LinkedIn. We just sort of hammered anyone we could find, knocked on their door. They're, on the whole, much more hands-off, which is nice. Whereas, obviously, VC is a totally different shark, and we haven't done it yet. But what was your question? It was any advice. I need to be receiving the advice on it as well, because I'm in the thick of it. But it took us a while to really fine tune our deck, rehearse our, I suppose it's like a script to an extent, but obviously made to sound very authentic. And that some pitches we come off going, yes, smash that. And then some you go, oh my God, what was I saying? Why did I say that? And it's funny, however many times you do it, everyone's slightly different. And I find it hard. I've got a bit of rejection sensitivity. So when someone's giving really tough questions, going like, this doesn't work, or this isn't right, oh my gosh, really? No. But that I think will change as I mature.
Fantastic. And is there any advice around, when you're looking at angels, how do you find those people? Is it friends and family to start with? Is fish close to home? Is that
we didn't. I don't know why. We just went further afield. I think most people start with friends and family. Yeah. I think it's easier probably with friends and family, but then on the other hand, I would feel a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know.
Hard at the family Christmas party.
Oh,
It
yeah.
doesn't work.
And exactly. And that's Christmas Day is one time you don't want your uncle going, so how's business? How's it going? When am I going to get my return?
Yeah. Looking forward to my first dividend. Yeah.
But also sometimes that's your only option, and you need capital to get off the ground. So you can't say no. If someone's going to offer you money, take the money.
And those pitch books, we get a lot of questions around how to present a pitch book. What should I lead with? Is it environmental? Is it social? Is it product? Is it market? Where do I start? Did you get some advice and help around that?
Yeah, and also where my co-founder, so I've actually got two co-founders. One of them is the founder of or co-founder of Made.com and was COO. So he's seen a business sort of scale very quickly, has done many investment pitches, and actually is an investor himself, so receives a lot. So that was a fantastic insight. But yeah, you just have to send it around to people in the know, get some feedback. I'm quite proud of ours. It looks cool. We had a good bit of branding help, because actually that was neither of our strong suits. I think my co-founder was really hoping that I'd be great at branding.
Okay.
And I'm not. So that's something we have had to outsource.
Just talking about advice and support, have there been people that you've been able to bend their ear at numerous times? Is there, you mentioned earlier, female founders meeting in Downing Street. Is there a mentor network, or is there someone that you've been able to just go and have a chat to when things are tough and say, how should I navigate this situation? Has there been someone you can rely on?
That's one thing that I actually do need to... I've had reached out and had mentors and maybe had one or two meetings, but life is so busy that I need to be much more disciplined at booking them in. Because I'd say actually you've picked up on a point that I'm not very good at. I could be much better at asking for help and seeking advice. Just time seems to just disappear, and then suddenly it's been 3 months and things are, I don't know. And I think there's an element of me not wanting to take up other people's time, so that's another insecurity maybe.
What's the funniest misconception people have about what you do for a living, your friends and family? Do people understand it? Does your, long lost uncle arrive at a family function and somehow manage to get the entire thing wrong? Or
I think I'd say probably people probably think that I only do the fun social media side because that's all they see. But actually, the majority of my day is spent at a desk doing admin or replying to emails, or there's I'd say the majority is actually not that glamorous. That's probably a misconception.
So 60% is probably spent doing things that are probably less glamorous, and because you seem to really enjoy the time you spend on screen.
It's the best bit. It makes all the other stuff worth it. Definitely, it's so fun that I think of my friends sort of sitting in a desk and going to very important meetings all the time, and I'm there making a TikTok jumping over some desks. It's really fun. But the fact that helps push the business and visibility, it's so weird. It's actually so weird, isn't it?
And if you love fashion, trying on clothes.
Well, the fact I'm here, that's so fun. It's like it's something totally different.
Absolutely, all the experiences. And celebrities is...
Yeah, we're quite cool with celebs, actually. We get quite a few into the store in Marylebone, I think for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's a very nice area and lots of people frequent there, nice, important people. And we're also bang opposite the working title offices. So you get a lot of actors and stuff coming out. But we've had Harry Styles come in, and he spent quite a long time there. And actually someone was taking a video, and my colleague went up and said, give him some privacy, please. So we act very cool. Kate Winslet came in and tried some stuff on, and actually I wasn't in the store, and my Irish colleague didn't recognise her until she had put her own stuff back and said thank you so much and walked out, and my colleague was like, hang on a minute, sometimes it takes you a second to register. And I had it with Brie Larson. She came in, and I think she's filming in London, and I was helping her try on clothes and sort of show her different stuff, but she's cut her hair very short, so I didn't recognise her until I was settling up, and I said, are you an actress? And she said yes, and she acted in my favourite book is Lessons in Chemistry. It's one of my favourite books, and she was brilliant in it. So I just told her that she was brilliant in it, and off she goes. It's
fantastic.
It's cool. Yeah.
I saw the segment you did about Burberry, effectively, and the huge changes that company's been through. And then there was other segments. One of them was about the new editor of American Vogue and the front page, and it was that signaled to me a sort of shift in the business. And it was Eliza talking about not just trying to sell, or not just selling, I should say, not just selling clothes, but talking about the fashion industry as a whole. Is that something that you see does that promote the Cirkel business, or is that something that's a passion of yours? Clearly you love fashion, and that's something you enjoy doing?
I think we sort of stumbled across doing it. The first video we did of that was Jonathan Anderson leaving Loewe. And that was the first one we did, and it went so viral. So I think we just thought, oh my God, we've sort of hit a sweet spot on organic growth. And our following on Instagram has gone up sort of 200% in the last year. So it wasn't so much about the Cirkel per se, but it was about how, when it comes to organic growth, it's just about hacking away and finding the cheat code, what's going to hit the algorithms. Once you have the eyeballs on and you've got them as a follower, that's when you can convert them. So it wasn't so much about the Cirkel. I wouldn't say that we're suddenly going to become a media outlet for fashion news.
Okay.
It's relevant to us, all of it, because we're a resale platform. So every brand story, we're housing the brand, we're selling the brand. So it's really fun that we can be much more adventurous with our content.
Yes.
And we're not restricted. But it wasn't so sort of part of a bigger plan per se. It was just, okay, this is getting us followers. People who are interested in fashion are following us. Great. Now let's feed in some content that introduces ourselves and tells them who we are, and then let's get them onto our website.
And so effectively a marketing piece in a lot of ways, isn't it? Driving eyeballs, effectively, followers back to the website.
Exactly. And I think also there's that element if people see you as a sort of expert in the fashion field, there's that trust factor. And they're fun to do, and they're engaging. Yeah.
And you live in that world, and it gives you credibility, gives Cirkel credibility, doesn't it?
Totally.
There's no question.
And they're just fun to watch. We get a lot of feedback of people just saying they really enjoy watching them. So we're happy to provide the entertainment.
I thought it was great. I thought it was an interesting extension of the Cirkel brand. I could see how it built credibility. I could see how it drove traffic. I just wondered whether there was some sort of future vision that the Cirkel business starts to morph in a slightly different direction.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, there's always something to be said that having a big media platform, like a big Instagram platform, is valuable. Not sure how we're going to sort of monetize it specifically yet, but there's definitely value.
Drive the traffic first, work out how to monetize it later. Yeah, fascinating. And Eliza, I have to ask, given this is a Workspace podcast and you're one of our customers, how important is the physical space where you base yourself to your organization? How does it impact culture? What are you looking for effectively? What are you looking for from an organization like us?
Yeah. Good value for square footage is a big one. And in terms of our feng shui, I guess because we have thousands of items coming through that room every week, it is chaos. And it's impossible to keep it tidy. I just can't do it because we've always got so much stuff. And in an ideal world, I would have a much, much bigger office, but we're not there yet. We learned the hard way when we had to move out of our wonderful office in Shepherd's Bush that had a little kitchen inside. It was so nice. But we were getting too big for our boots too quickly. I look forward to be reunited with that office in time. But for now, it's great. We're down in Battersea and it suits us perfectly. And also the really cool thing is everyone in the space is fashion or podcast studios or content studios. It feels very creative. It feels like we're surrounded by the people we're meant to be surrounded by, basically, which is good. Whereas in other areas it's been maybe more tech people or more, and it's nice to be constantly surrounded by similar-ish businesses. Probably because it's cheap. We're down there.
And that's really interesting because that's something we've been exploring as a business. We're certainly seeing it, this formation of clusters by industry, if that makes sense, is and the fact that you all share together. We've got a couple of our buildings got a lot of podcast studios in them, for example.
Yeah.
And what amazes us, they're not competitive because they're running their own content,
Of course.
but they're certainly sharing a lot of technical information and equipment and these sorts of things. Or
Yeah.
if something's broken and they need it fixed urgently, can they get a part from someone or an item from someone? So that's really interesting. That's something we're exploring as a business very actively, is can we play more of a role in curating our customers around a certain location, for example.
And we've always had Workspace always do the events.
Yes.
I think Shepherd's Bush was a bit more rocking, but that's because it had a communal area. So the Christmas parties, they all booted off. It was wonderful. But we did the other day in summer, had the ice cream man come outside.
In Havelock, yes.
It's the little perks.
Fantastic. No, that's very good to hear. Drawing this to a close, but what's next for the Cirkel? Where do you see it going? I don't expect you to give away any trade secrets, but what does the next chapter or chapters look like in your view?
I'd say as a team, we're very ambitious. So it's not like we've built this business that is making its own money and we're satisfied with where it's at. We very much want to become sort of one of the biggest resale platforms. Across the pond, you've got the Real, which is a unicorn, and they're a very similar model. There hasn't been that here yet. At the moment, we've just got peer-to-peer marketplaces dominating. So, yeah, I guess the next immediate stage would be to try and raise some capital for growth, and that would be just focusing on each of our avenues for selling and just going for each of them. Because at the moment, we can't do more than 2 hours of TikTok lives because there's 5 of us and we're doing everything else. So if I could hire someone that could do TikTok lives 10 hours a day,
okay, wow.
you know, think of the revenue increase.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be growth.
And as part of that growth story, integrating new categories, going through new categories. You don't do menswear, for example?
We don't do menswear, and I don't know. We get asked this the whole time. We've got a store in Marylebone, and we do get men wandering in, and first thing, do you have any menswear here? And I sort of always tell them the same answer. It's such a different market. It's, in my opinion, it's not nearly as scalable. It's a totally, not to sort of stereotype men by any means, but the men that I sort of in my circle are much more sustainable by default because they buy little, they wear to the ground.
Yes.
They don't update their clothes as much on the whole, and actually, no offense to them, but there'd be no supply from any of their wardrobes that I'd be able to make any money on. So obviously you do have a bracket of men that are very fashionable and into it, but it's not the same level, and it's also not what I am interested in. So yes, maybe if the Circle got to a place where someone came in and was like, I'm going to start the menswear.
Right, okay.
It's funny actually. I do think sometimes with my co-founder, it's a very different experience for him running the Circle.
I bet.
To me, because I live and breathe it.
Yes.
In a way that he can't get involved as much. And I do think, that's a shame.
Might be an opportunity for him.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It's brilliant to see that you've taken something as traditional as retail and then a category that was, as you say, associated with charity stores effectively and made that a commercial business, Eliza. I think it's enormous credit to you. And the way you've harness social media to accelerate that is incredible. But at the same time, you've kept it all human. And I think a lot of our founders and SMEs will take huge inspiration from it. So we really appreciate your time today and you sharing your experience and your knowledge and your insight. Thank you for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. There's no doubt. And from a Workspace perspective, thank you for your support. You're in Havelock. I know it's the second of our properties that you've been in. We really appreciate your discussion. Third, there we go.
I've done 4 offices in 3 years.
Fantastic. And that's
great at moving us up and down.
Look, we like that. That's exactly right. We love supporting SMEs. And I think from my perspective as chief executive, I often say I'm very privileged to be given the opportunity to run someone else's business, but I'm absolutely humbled when I sit opposite our founders who have created their own. And that's another level as far as I'm concerned. So I think you've done an amazing job, and there's an enormous amount to be proud of. And look, we're there to support you in any way that we can, and we'll continue to do that. But that's really I can tell it's been your energy and your effort, and it's absolutely phenomenal what you've achieved. For our listeners, we hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to hit subscribe. We've got plenty more stories to come from our founders who are shaping London's future. And check out Workspace on Instagram and LinkedIn to see what our 4,000 strong community is up to. Thanks for listening. See you next time on How to Make It Happen. Thank you.